When we encounter The Art of War attributed to Sun Tzu, we are often tempted to read it as a cold manual of manipulation, deception, and force. Yet this reading misses the deeper intellectual and moral framework in which the text operates. The Art of War emerges not merely from a military tradition, but from a religious and cosmological worldview in which violence is not celebrated, but disciplined, constrained, and morally evaluated. At its core, Sun Tzu is asking a question that sits at the heart of religion and violence studies. How can force be exercised without unraveling the moral order of the world? This question is not unlike those posed in Christian just war theory, Islamic jurisprudence on jihad, or Jewish discussions of milchmet mitzvah. Violence in this tradition is never morally neutral. It must be justified, limited, and oriented toward restoring harmony rather than indulging chaos. Moral order. Before battlefield victory. One of the most striking features of The Art of War is its insistence that war begins before weapons are drawn. Sun Tzu speaks of what he calls the moral law, that which aligns the people with their ruler and binds the community together in shared purpose. This is not simply political loyalty. It is a quasi-sacred alignment between leadership, people, and cosmic order. In religious terms, this resembles covenantal thinking. Just as Israel's battles in the Hebrew Bible are framed around obedience, justice, and divine alignment, Sun Tzu argues that no army can succeed if it lacks moral cohesion. Violence, when detached from moral order, becomes self-destructive. Thus, war is never merely about defeating an enemy, it is about preserving the internal integrity of one's own society, heaven, earth, and the sacred limits of force. Sun Tzu repeatedly invokes heaven and earth, not as metaphors but as governing realities. Heaven represents time, season, and fate. Earth represents terrain, limitation, and vulnerability. Together, they function as moral constraints on violence. One does not fight whenever one wishes. One fights only when conditions align. This reflects a religious sensibility found across traditions. War is subject to forces beyond human will. In Christian theology, this appears as submission to divine providence. In Taoist thought, as alignment with the Tao. In Islamic thought, as obedience to God's limits. Hudud. Sun Tzu's general is not a brute conqueror, but a moral discerner, reading signs, seasons, and consequences. To fight against heaven or earth, to wage war at the wrong time, for the wrong reasons, or with the wrong posture, is not just impractical, it is morally disordered. The highest victory, conquest without bloodshed. Perhaps the most religiously resonant claim in The Art of War is Sun Tzu's assertion that the greatest victory is achieved without fighting. This is not cowardice, it is moral economy. Bloodshed represents failure, not always of necessity, but of wisdom. This idea parallels religious pacifist strains found in Buddhism, Taoism, Quaker Christianity, and even strands of Rabbinic Judaism, where peace, shalom, is the highest good, and violence is tolerated only as a tragic concession. Sun Tzu does not deny the reality of war, but he insists that every life lost is a moral cost, not merely a tactical statistic. In this sense, deception, strategy, and patience are not immoral tricks. They are ethical alternatives to slaughter. To outthink an enemy is morally preferable to annihilating them. Discipline, compassion, and the sacred bond of leadership. Sun Tzu's vision of leadership is deeply ethical. A general must combine strict discipline with genuine care for soldiers, treating them as beloved children. This mirrors religious models of pastoral authority, where leadership is neither permissive nor tyrannical, but morally formative. Violence exercised without compassion fractures the soul of the community. Violence exercised without discipline collapses into chaos. The general, like a priest or judge, mediates between force and order, ensuring that violence remains instrumental rather than corrosive. War as tragedy, not glory. Ultimately, The Art of War does not glorify violence, it problematizes it. War is described as costly, dangerous, spiritually exhausting, and socially destabilizing. Prolonged warfare impoverishes the people, drains the state, and invites moral decay. These warnings echo prophetic critiques found in religious texts across cultures. Sun Tzu's realism is therefore not cynical, it is tragic realism, the acknowledgement that while violence may sometimes be necessary, it is never redemptive in itself. Conclusion: a religious ethic of restraint. Read through a religion and violence lens, The Art of War stands not as a manual of domination, but as a moral philosophy of restraint. It insists that violence must serve order, harmony, and survival, not ego, revenge, or glory. Like just war theory or sacred law, it asks not simply how to fight, but whether fighting preserves the moral fabric of the world. In this way, Sun Tzu belongs not only to military history, but to the broader religious conversation about power, suffering, and the limits of human force. The Art of War.